I am Margit Lukács and you are?
Persijn Broersen, and we are artists from Amsterdam. We are now in Rockla to show our new installation work of All or Nothing at All. And we've just installed it, and it has been quite we've worked really hard on it, but that's been difficult because it's you work on it in the studio, and it's a large work, it's a large body of work, and to see it in real is like something else. So it is, it's exciting also to be here and to see it really happening. And it's, we are lucky because we could install it here in a very good way and also a very specific way, because like the way that the art center is built with like its roof with old beams, and it gives an extra sort of like meaning, an extra layer to the work. And so it's an interesting time for us to be here and to see, but to get to learn that work, and that is that's great. I think this is typical with like working within CGI. I think it's not so typical when working with normal camera work, but with CGI because one thing, because it's a CGI based work, but there's so many sort of like viewpoints and so many sort of like there's no limit in what you can do with texture or with like camera position, or so there's no limit of what sort of like meaning you can find in a work made within CGI. Because
you could say actually that work is, we are really modeling each thing, so everything is a decision.
And we can decide on every thing again in another way. So it's like there's a depth to CGI which is like different. It actually, although it's just a flat layer on your screen, it has like it's encompassed of so many possibilities, and within all those possibilities there are sort of like really layers of meaning which have to be digged out.
So it's more or less like a moving sculpture, and especially now here in the spatial setup, it becomes also this choreography that's in the film, that's now played out over the 7 monitors with the faces that are somehow part also of this choreography, and it really divides the space in a way that is completely new for us also to see that in our work happening. There is some movement and dialectics, dynamics even in space that we've not encountered before in such a way. So this is really new for us.
Yeah, what happens? So we are thinking about new works already.
Absolutely. So we started with the song All or Nothing at All from Frank Sinatra. It's Frank Sinatra's first hit song. And that song triggered us, not only by the music, I do love the music, but also by the song text, which is All or Nothing at All. All or nothing at all. How to love never appeared to me. Which has so much to do, I think, with the tunnel vision we create once you are completely in your screens. As we are nowadays, we are in our screens all the time because of COVID, of course, but also just normally we are surrounded by our screens. We live our life through our screens, and this flat reality, this somehow hollow illusion of sorts, creates an illusion of control, of controlling the world in your screen. You can choose yourself what you want to see. So we wanted to
focus on one thing.
Yeah, you can only focus on one thing because this screen is always the same distance to your eyes. So you don't see the real depth, which you would see when you're really in a space. So we wanted to have this song translated into a more ambiguous song, not polarizing, what happens a lot when you're in a tunnel vision, but instead of that we wanted it to break apart the song, to deconstruct it. And then Nina Vatsolt, she's a Danish musician. She changed the song into a 7-voiced, 7-channel song, a multi-voice song. And so the message of the song became much more ambiguous. And when she had done that, we immediately thought, well, let's have then this song translated into 7 avatars that are dancing and singing this song.
With themselves.
Yeah, 7 clones.
It's an external sort of like fight, you could say, but it's also an internal fight. It's happening inside and outside, and I think that is like something that happens all the time. And so even that polarizing, and so that happens on many different levels. You know, I mean, you have the levels of politics, and you have the levels of like your close community, but you also have it in yourself. I mean, you are also like, and what am I still allowed to sort of like believe and think, and you can see that fight somehow a little bit in her singing, that, and when she's also like fighting herself, and so there's like this
multiplicity of
characters
meanings into one body, a body that is divided by 7. And the same happened when we were thinking of, okay, how can we show that fight, that polarizing theme? How can we show that in the choreography? And then we had to think of West Side Story, the musical, the famous musical, which is an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, in which street gangs of New York fight each other. And this film, West Side Story, is designed by Saul Bass, a fantastic designer. And he divided the space, the territory there, in different territories where the gangsters, they would own their territory. So there are lots of obstacles, walls. Anyway, so we wanted to construct also the scenery, which is another important deal of the work, these digital ruins, as we call them. We wanted to construct them like the territory in a game. You go from level to level to level, and you have constantly to fight against walls and gates and etc. to go to the next level. Use the choreography of West Side Story and Daniela Cilia of Denmark. She constructed this into a dance, and we translated this dance again to this built territory that we made with photogrammetry, which is again another story.
I think like both Margit and me, we've always been interested in sort of in the flat images that encompasses somehow a larger sort of like object. I don't know really how to see depth into a flat object. So we started really with like making flat objects, but starting to see depth in those things. And I think a long time ago already, we tried to walk around a rock and to create that into one image, an object. And this was actually, I mean, it wasn't possible in those times. That was like in 1990s, but it was probably possible within the army. They were probably sort of already investigating for certain. They were using these techniques. But so our interest was even before that we knew it would be possible. And so when it became possible to use these techniques of photogrammetry, making a lot of photos and creating like an object, a 3D object from that, it was very logical for us to use it.
Actually, our main interest has been always in like the hollowness. So we never just used our camera to film our films, but we always wanted to depict nature or other things that we used in our films in a flat way, as to see somehow the construction of the image, and also to frame the time, that you really feel, okay, this is not real time, but this is frozen time. We sometimes even called it like we kill the time, in order to show this hypnotizing feeling when you watch, for instance, when you watch television endlessly, you get hypnotized by something what's happening on the screen, and you're not even aware anymore of the time that is just flowing away.
And but it's really, you know, it's almost like it's sort of like a power enforcement that we give ourselves, is when we are the masters of our own time. That is like something that you can create within the digital era. You know, I mean, you can create your own time.
But
and we do it literally, which is.
And we show also the background of it, the backside, so which is like a black gap. it's a back.
Well, we show the construction of the things. We always, I mean, it's clear that we are not trying to polish everything. I mean, look at the, like a normal CGI sort of film and how many people are involved with that. And, you get like this completely beautiful, perfect image of like something that looks real and you have no clue anymore how it is made. And I think that is very disturbing because that also makes what's happening now is like the sense of reality is being disturbed. But it's so unclear how difficult it actually is to create that. And so we really want to make those kind of images ourselves and show like the impossibilities and also like the things that happen within creating those images and the chances that you sort of get from those, and to see openings within them which explain things about like how we are thinking about those things, but they are never shown. But we can show them. We are allowed to be artists, and we don't have to show that perfect image.
We use the photogrammetry techniques also because of it's very much sculpture like in modeling these sceneries, these houses, these streets. It's all becoming it's really like an architectural setup that we completely make ourselves. We can choose whatever we want. Of course we work with the circumstances and not everything is possible, but we use all the black gaps in between, all the space that is not there, all the space that's the backsides of the things, the hollowness of the world that you're portraying. So indeed we make it in a computer, but it's very much, it feels like a sculpture that's slowly coming into being. So there's a lot of things happening that we don't know beforehand, and it's really like a painting or a sculpture in that sense.
What we do is that we create chance within our work, and I think that is very important. So although there's a level of conceptual decisions that we make, we want the chances to sort of really guide us through like the final work, to guide us there. And so we really use it when we see, and this is like something I think is like that doesn't feel logical to like our world right now, but it is something that happens all the time.
People think that it's with the computer. There's just one button, and then you have this photogrammetry.
And there's so many decisions that are being taken. If you don't take them yourself, someone else will take them, and so there's so much more responsibility within that. And if you don't show those gaps, you wouldn't even know there's that responsibility.
We've always been interested very much in ornament, in wallpapers, in hypnotizing patterns, because what happens with patterns and what happens in the old age with the dinosaurs. After the dinosaurs.
Neandertalers.
Hoe zeg je dat in Engels?
No.
With the primitive people. And when we were hunting, we would see a landscape, something that was out of order there. We would immediately, our brains would start working. That's the same thing. When we see just a pattern that's regular, we won't stop. We stop thinking, and we're just getting hypnotized. When we see some disorderly thing, we immediately start thinking.
And
that's the thing that we always use in our work very much, like the obstacles, the gaps between the depth of coulisses, the depth between panels, the depth of the illusion of the decor. In a Brechtian way, we like to destroy that illusion. At the same time, we want people to be lured in to it. Yes, and that's especially happening, I think, here with the sirens, that we call them sirens, the 7 avatars that are portraying Nina Wetzel, the singer. So everything that we stitch together, everything that we show or not show is a conscious decision. Although there's much chance happening, that doesn't really matter. We can decide, are we showing that chance or are we not showing that chance? And how do we build up this scenery? Do we have a lot of emptiness in between? Do we have a lot of time in between? Is this road endlessly stretched? I mean, everything is possible, which makes animation also such a political thing per se, which is we are not bound to our camera that has to be fixed or that has to be bound on several difficult equipment kind of ways. No, we do have our virtual reality. We can have the camera floating, we can have the camera underneath everything, or
everything is
high
liquid.
from above. Yeah.
Everything is liquid, and that makes it also like, if everything is liquid, then it's also the opposite, you know, because then it also can be put into a standstill, and that makes it like really, you know, it's a very powerful.
It's such a difference. If you open up the windows of a PC, and also of an Apple actually, the Apple always uses landscapes to show the freedom, you know. Their systems are called Sierra and Leopard and whatever, always connecting to, and now they use the image of the universe. So they even extended their control over to the universe. So but then there's always in this, they show that whole screen is filled with these endless sensation. Okay, we have the freedom to use everything. It's all in our hands. It's under control. But of course, it's not the case. And we want to show the frames. We want to show the backside. We want to show the flatness of this hollow view.